welcome back to another CryptoVagabonds Q&A. Today we're going to be talking about Ethereum. All right, so before, of course, we begin any content, we need to make sure that you understand that everything you produce is for informational, educational, and entertainment purpose only. No financial advice will be found here. So this crypto Q&A occurs every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also interact with me and some other members of the Academy at Clubhouse, Monday to Friday at 7 Eastern Time. And of course, you're always going to be able to find us here on YouTube, Instagram, and X. So today I want to talk about Ethereum in simple terms. And we already tried to oversimplify things on the beginning here on the very first slide. And this is the idea of Ethereum being a petrol or a fuel or oil instead of like a store of value or a currency such as Bitcoin. So the idea is to see Ethereum as gas or petrol that will fuel certain applications and network. Now, the roadmap that we're going to be doing today is first we're going to explain what is Ethereum. And it's a very hard thing to define because Ethereum has changed its definition along with history. We're going to explain about what DAPPS are. We're going to be talking about Ether versus Ethereum because a lot of people may not understand the difference between those two. And then we're going to very briefly, very oversimplified, be talking about Ethereum's structure. So the first thing I want to differentiate is Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is known mostly to be a digital currency or the first digital currency. I use the term digital currency because that's the term that is most commonly used. I do not see a Bitcoin as a currency. I see it as an asset. However, that's a discussion for another video, but here we have it. It's a digital currency for payments and, of course, a store of value. That's basically the way that Bitcoin is perceived. Now, Ethereum, on the other hand, is perceivable to be a programmable blockchain for creating products and services. So you can create a lot of services on Ethereum, which, of course, is impossible to build and to produce the same thing on the Bitcoin blockchain. So one good way to look at Ethereum since is a platform for DAPPS. DAPPS stands for decentralized applications. So one good way to look at this is try to compare with the Apple Store, right? You can just build apps and there's a lot of applications on the Apple Store. Same thing for Ethereum. You can build your applications, you can build your tokens, you can program things, and you can have Ethereum being the main platform or the main computer that where all those platforms are going to be running. The same thing that applications run on the iOS system or on whatever operating system you have on your iPhone. Same thing would be Ethereum. It's a platform. You can create decentralized applications, and Ethereum is going to be able to run those applications as long as you abide by the programming language. So, as I just mentioned before, here's a few examples of applications that can be run on this platform, on this Apple Store or Ethereum blockchain. One of them I'm going to be mentioned is Uniswap. Uniswap is one of the most famous applications on Ethereum. It's pretty much a decentralized exchange where you send one token and you can transact the token or exchange the token for something else. And this is one example of an application or an exchange that operates without an intermediary. The software is intermediary, unlike, for instance, Binance, Coinbase, or other exchanges where they're subject to a group of individuals. Uniswap is one good example of an application that does exist on Ethereum. We also have MetaMask Swap, not to be mistaken with MetaMask Wallet, but the MetaMask Swap does work on the MetaMask application. So if you have a wallet from MetaMask, you may be able to interact and transact and exchange all within MetaMask. That's another application which is, of course, run on Ethereum. MetaMask is pretty much an Ethereum-based wallet. We also have Polygon. Now, Polygon is something different, which is a layer 2 application that works on Ethereum, and Polygon has its own applications that interacts with Ethereum, but basically is run on Polygon. So those are just 3 examples of applications that do exist and operate within the Ethereum system. So it's important to understand that at least on the narrative, at least according to the website, Ethereum operates autonomously and not controlled by any central entity. Now, this is what they advertise. That is their goal. I don't believe that to be 100% true. I think there's a degree of control, but that's a subject for another video. Basically, when you enter Ethereum, if you go to the website and try to understand Ethereum, it is easier if you enter believing that they're going to operate autonomously. They would be working in a decentralized form for most part. If there's a problem, they will have intervenence. And unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum does have a face, which is Vitalik. And of course, Vitalik does have a voice. If he doesn't endorse something, the community may not proceed with that whatever thing that he's not endorsing. So there's a certain degree of centralization, but basically, if everything goes well, Ethereum should operate on an autonomous manner and controlled by no central entity. Now, let's talk about Ether. So Ether is the asset. Ethereum is the blockchain. So Ether is a native cryptocurrency or crypto asset that exists and well on the Ethereum blockchain. Now, one other analogy that I can use to explain to you is this. Imagine that Ethereum, the blockchain, is a network of railroads, train tracks. Now, let's say, for instance, that those train tracks are called Ethereum, belongs to the company Ethereum. They lay train tracks and they connect different locations in any state or country. And let's say that the same company, they also have trains. So the train that runs on that chain, on those tracks, belongs to the same company. That would be Ether. Now, if you have another train run on that track, that would be a token because you don't have your own blockchain, you don't have your own infrastructure. So that's one metaphor to explain to you the difference between the two. One is the train track, and the other one is the wagon that runs on that train track. So Ethereum is the network, it is the blockchain itself, is the ecosystem, and then Ether is the train that runs on that track. There are other ways to make this metaphor, and another way to look at this is look at it as the currency that exists on this universe of applications created by or enabled to be created by Ethereum. So if Ethereum is a network that creates different apps, you can pay for those apps. Like for instance, if you go to the App Store, you pay in dollars. Everything you do on the Ethereum blockchain, you'll be paying in Ether. So Ether is pretty much the gas or the fuel that enables Ethereum to continue operating. And that is how they monetize things. They have their own token, which you acquire. Sorry, they have their own coin, not token in that sense. They have their own coin, you acquire their currency, and then you can pay for applications and you can pay for transactions on their currency, and that currency is Ether. So Ether is what enables to have everything working because it brings value and allow you to interact in exchange of value manner. One thing I forgot to mention, which is here, the supply of ETH as of today, as we shoot this video, is deflationary. It has not been always deflationary. Today, it is deflationary. But it's important to understand that that supply can become inflationary again and can become deflationary according to what the programmers or Vitalik pretty much decides. So as I just mentioned, fees are based on transaction complexity and resources. So the fees are going to be calculated based on one, complexity and the resources that they're going to consume. And the best way to look at this, imagine when you go to a supermarket and you have someone in front of you, and the person in front of you is purchasing, let's say, a bottle of water, and they're paying with €100, $100 bill. That is a degree of complexity in terms of it's just one bottle of water, is for sure under $5. Now the person has to calculate the change to be given in exchange for the $100 bill and a bottle of water. Now that is a much easier transaction than, for instance, someone who is buying 20 different items in the supermarket, and now they have a jar full of coins and pennies, and they want to pay for that transaction with the coins and contents of that jar. So that transaction is going to be way more complex and it's going to consume a lot more resources and energy from the cashier. So the same thing applies for Ethereum or any other blockchain for that matter. If the transaction that is going to be performed is going to take a lot of data, the fees for that transaction, they're going to go higher. If the transaction is being performed on that blockchain is a transaction, say for instance, you have a $5 and you buy a $1 bottle, that's how much is a transaction. Or even better, if you buy a $1 bottle and you're paying for it with $1 bill, that is how much is a transaction. So transactions are going to be higher or lower in their cost, depending on the complexity and the resources they're going to consume. Ethereum is a PoS protocol, which is proof of stake. It began as a proof of work, and now it is pretty much a proof of stake. Now, there's a difference between proof of stake and proof of work, which we're going to be talking about. So in a proof of work mechanism, people buy hardware, the hardware solves an equation, and if the equation is solved by the specific group of hardware, that group of hardware gets reward. In a proof of stake, it's very different. Validators, instead of acquiring hardware, they acquire the currency, ETH, and they lock that currency in a specific digital vault. And of course, the more they stake, the more transactions they can validate. And of course, the greater the chances of them receiving the rewards. Now, on an ideal world, the validator of those transactions would be penalized in case they try to do something wrong on the network or double spend or act on an ill manner. The thing is, I am not sure if penalization has been implemented already on ETH. I know of very few proof of stake where the penalization is actually implemented. The thing is, I doubt, I haven't been able to verify if Ethereum actually penalized. Last time I checked, when they just begun, the penalization was not there. And the reason was because they think everyone is going to pretty much be honest, but penalization was not on the last time I checked. It could be on now, but I have doubts about that. So what does those apps do is enable for what they call trusted transactions or smart contracts. Now, it is not really a smart contract. That is, again, another misnomer. What happens on Ethereum is what we call is a dumb contract. Why is it called a dumb contract? Because a dumb contract does not think for itself. So what it enables is for automated self-enforced contracts to occur on the network. So you can actually say, for instance, if X happened, send money from my wallet to the other person's wallet. Or if X does not happen, the amount of money or the amount of assets, in this case, it remained on this wallet. And that enables them to build self-enforcing contracts on insurance, self-enforced contracts on loans, self-enforced contract in other things such as rent. So I have used myself loans, like decentralized loans on the Ethereum blockchain. So that is what is pretty much enables you to do. It create dumb contracts or self-enforced contracts where the applications do work. So one thing that used to be there in the past and is still a reality today, if you do want to use Ethereum blockchain as one of the blockchains to use, for instance, for loans or DeFi platforms, you're going to be paying higher fees, for instance, than if you use the BNB. But they do work. I have used loans myself before, and I have actually purchased things without having to sell my crypto. That's one thing, one example of smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain. So another way to look at this structure, right? Because remember, Ethereum is the structure, it is the asset on that blockchain. So you can think of the base layer as a layer where there are nodes, validators, and people securing the network. And then you can think of the layer 2 as a software layer where developers go there, they use the programming language, and they create smart contracts, DeFi platforms, self-enforced loan contracts, self-enforced insurance contracts, and so on. And then you have the layer 3 where you have different applications, maybe games and things of that sort. So that's another way to think of Ethereum. It allows for different things to be built. So base layer, nodes and validators, layer 2, software layer, where you can create contracts, and the third layer where you can actually build different applications or decentralized applications. There's also another thing which people can create on the Ethereum blockchain, and that is tokens. Anyone can create a cryptocurrency. There are websites where you can go, and within 5 minutes, you can create your tokens. Remember, tokens do not have their own blockchain. It exists on its own blockchain called Ethereum. Every other token created on the Ethereum blockchain or every other cryptocurrency created on Ethereum blockchain will be called a token. And we can have here a few examples. You have the USDT, we have Chainlink, we have Matic, and you have Uniswap. Uniswap have their own currency. Matic is the currency of Polygon. Chainlink is a tracking currency, and they have the USDT, which is stablecoin. So all of those things are tokens that do exist on the Ethereum blockchain. So this is the symbol for Uniswap. This is the symbol for USD. This is the symbol for USDT. This is DAI, is a stable coin or $1 pegged token, which exists on the Ethereum blockchain and is backed by ETH. And then you have Chainlink, which is the tracking control cryptocurrency. So a few funny facts about Ethereum. Ethereum has gone through many changes since 2015. It has changed its own narrative of what it is. Today, it is is POS, is proof of stake. It started as proof of work. And Ethereum started wanting to be the computer of the world, then wanted to be the petroleum of the computer of the world, or the fuel for the petroleum of the world. And today is a place where applications can be built or dApps can be built. Now, another thing that has happened is the issuance of ETH has slowed over time. And also they have done something called the burning, where they increase the fees, and whatever they overcharge on the fees, they burn those fees. So the more you use the network, the more you get to pay, because they want to burn, because they want to make Ethereum deflationary. So in order to become deflationary, they have to increase the amount they charge on fees, and then have to burn that amount. So the more network gets used, it leads to more Ether being burned, or immoral destruction of capital. That's one way to see it, but that's subject for another video. But those are a few facts about Ethereum. So with that, I'm going to give a quick recap. We talk about what is Ethereum. It is pretty much a network. We talk about decentralized applications that are built there. We talk about Ether, which is the currency or the asset, Ethereum, which is a blockchain. And we talk a little bit about the structure of the proof of work system, and also the multiple layers, the software layer, the validator, the base layer, which is the validators layer, the second layer being the software layer, and the third layer being the dApps layer. Now, that was the recap. If you want to be more control of your money and entering the crypto space safely, consider joining our Crypto Vagabonds Academy. And with this, I end the presentation, and I'll be answering your questions.
Kaboom. Goodbye.